Have you ever thought about how many of your opinions are actually yours? How many are not influenced by other people's opinions? In other words, how many of your opinions you've arrived at by reason and not influence? Not many, right? That's because what Merriam-Webster Dictionary states as a view, judgment, or appraisal formed in the mind about a particular matter is a product of received discourse, which can and is right now being manipulated. Before philosophers, there were sophists, the ancient dark side of the Force, if you will, the Sith to Plato's Jedi. The main weapon of sophistry, the tool they made use of in the assembly and the court to begin and end wars, to save or condemn the life of a person, was rhetoric, the power of the word. Gorgias, one of the main Sith lords of ancient Greece, takes the concepts discourse and reality. What constitutes as truth is discourse that coincides with that reality. But the predominant cognitive state in humans is not truth, it's opinion. So the power of the word lays in manipulating opinion, making men believe one discourse to be true while not coinciding with reality. That's propaganda. It's Octavian turning Mark Antony into a foreign threat under the spell of the witch Cleopatra to justify marching into the Battle of Actium. It's William Randolph Hearst blaming the acts of reefer-crazed blacks through newspapers he owned on weed while lumping it together with hemp because he was all in on wood pulp. It's everyone's favorite uncle, the Austrian painter, making the people of Germany believe commies and jays lost their great nation World War I. It's Popeye tricking everyone into buying spinach in a can because the government thought it had way more iron than it actually had and to promote the benefits of canned food. It's Tintin, originally a character from the fascist newspaper Le XXe siècle, reporting on the evil doings of the terrible commies. And it's the cereal tiger making parents believe a pile of sugar is the cornerstone of every child's nutritious breakfast. Propaganda used to be separated in two concepts, first used by Russian philosopher Georgy Plekhanov and developed by politician Vladimir Lenin. One, propaganda itself, the recent use of historical and scientific arguments to indoctrinate the educated and the enlightened. And two, agitation, the use of slogans, parables, and half-truths to exploit the grievances of the uneducated in one's favor. Used to. I choose the phrasing with care, since the actors of propaganda have learned that focusing on the ignorant, reacting masses reaps way more benefits. 2.5 millennia later, what strength laid in rhetoric during ancient times has been superpowered by the presence of mass media. As convenience and information reach our fingertips, so does propaganda. Not just overt propaganda, such as the case of a political campaign signed with the name and face of the actor, but covert propaganda too. Campaigns signed with false names, bribed editors, hosts and journalists. In such environment, opinion becomes truth. Lucky for you, only a handful of people are good at it, and there are ways to defend against it, if you know how. Now, my education background on this matter is peculiar. Aside from having a degree in social communications and majoring in philosophy as we speak, I went to Catholic school, so I wasn't exactly brought up to become a free and critical thinker. Except, the Opus Dei took over my high school and made their best to indoctrinate the shit out of us. Thus, I became quite well versed at dodging bullshit. The first step is to know that information comes in three flavors. Information itself, which is correct, misinformation, which relates to a mistake from the source, and disinformation, which relates to straight-up lies and hoaxes, false information intentionally spread to deceive. The second step is to check your motherfucking sources. Since it is very difficult to have an opinion that is 100% yours, it is vital to check the validity of the sources to see if their discourse coincides with reality. In essence, when information comes your way, you should ask a series of questions about it. Who said it and why? Where was it published? Who is it aimed at? What is it based on? And if there's evidence for it. And most importantly, is it verifiable elsewhere? At a minimum, as per my preferred technique, you should verify information with two sources. Because if on fact X, actor 1 says A and actor 2 says B, the truth must lay, at least peripherally, in the middle. Opinion is analog to water. If you can't spontaneously produce it to drink, then you better make sure you don't drink it from a well of shit. The third step is to know that propaganda is a double-edged sword. It has the potential to hurt you as much as it has it to hurt them, both the reactor and the actor in technical terms. We all know the story of the boy who cried wolf. When spreading propaganda, the actor runs the risk of getting busted and ruining their reputation. I'm from Argentina. I've seen the same political party rebranch and rebrand itself. How many times now? The first steps were prep work, stepping stones in becoming what is our goal, thinkers. Foremost, free thinkers. In 1948, the United Nations sired the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Among others, of course, was the right to freedom of thought. This is an absolute right. To put it in perspective, privacy, free speech, and assembly are qualified rights, susceptible to be restricted for national security or public safety reasons. Absolute rights cannot be broken under any circumstance for any reason. In a 1957 essay titled The Value of Free Thought, English philosopher and logician Bertrand Russell wrote, "What makes a free thinker is not his beliefs, but the way in which he holds them. If he holds them because his elders told him they were true when he was young, or if he holds them because if he did not, he will be unhappy, his thought is not free. But if he holds them because, after careful thought, he finds a balance of evidence in their favor, then his thought is free, however odd his conclusions may seem." The value of free thinking lays in it being quite a hurdle for propaganda actors to overcome. Difficult, but not impossible. If they can control thought, for all the freedom of speech a society can have, nobody will have anything destabilizing to say. The right to freedom of thought means nothing without the knowledge and the ability to think. Heraclitus of Ephesus wrote about the common. If what is common is law, and what is common is ignorance, then ignorance is law. To move on, I'll dissect Professor Russell's excerpt a bit. Not his beliefs, but the way in which he holds them, however odd his conclusions may seem. For a thinker to be free does not mean a thinker to be right. Critical thinking is a way of thought in which the thinker acquires, deconstructs, analyzes, and reconstructs information, not without bias, but aware of them on any given subject. It's a strategy to arrive at informed criticism, to understand yourself and the world around you. In contrast to the scientific method, there is no conclusion in critical thinking. It's a constant interaction with an ever-changing environment that allows for a broader vision that starts the process all over again. There is no single path to becoming a free and critical thinker. What I can give you are the tools to put it in practice. The holy trinity of thought: reading, writing, and speaking. Read. Read about close reading and take the time to learn how to dissect text and lay its arguments bare to you. I've personally grown fond of the scaffolding method, in which I make a first reading to identify the main arguments from a text as the scaffolding of a building, and then reread to lay the bricks, so to speak. Read about logic and reason in order to deconstruct, question, and evaluate those arguments. learn your logical fallacies, so as to avoid ill intent from actors of propaganda. Beware of appeal to authority, because someone is an expert doesn't mean what they say about a topic is true. Appeal to emotion, also known as routing up the crowd. And strawman, misrepresenting someone's argument and attacking that, the straw man. Just a few to get you started. Read about psychology to learn about the many biases that plague our reasoning and how to first recognize them and then avoid them. Examples include anchoring bias, comparing everything to the first piece of information we received. Framing bias, making a decision based on the way information is presented rather than the facts. And the like. Right. Once you've encountered an idea or argument that piques your interest, and using your knowledge of biases, summarize it in as objective and clear of a way as you can. Then reconstruct it as if it was your own, using your acquired knowledge of reason and logic, and critique it. Offer a counterpoint, taking into account how the author of the argument has supported his or her position and what assumptions he or she has made. Do this for both sides, arguments with which you agree and arguments with which you don't. Now, to reap the fruits of your labor, speak. Next time someone says X is correct, X being mainly the discourse their preferred politician is peddling, begin with asking what X actually means or is. Then you'll see if they actually prepared the meal or got their food chewed for them by Mama Bird. If they didn't, enlighten them without being disrespectful. If they did, you'll know how to deconstruct their argument and reach a semblance of truth. Whether they want to hear it or not is not your concern. Do it to anyone, even to yourself. See what propaganda has done to you, fix it, and see yourself have your own opinion. And if you don't know, now you know.